I start with doctor?
That sounds good. Doctor replied, or doctor is excused.
But this was something Baba asked him to write on the board, so it needs to be put in context.
So
So,
back a little farther.
yeah, no, this is good. This is perfect. After this, the atmosphere again became normal, and all breathed a sigh of relief. See, it's a nice beginning. They played Doppy Doppy for some time, after which Baba had Doctor put up the following notice. I beg all here not to convey in their actions and words bad intentions to the others. Merwan. On 12th October, before they sat for the early morning prayers and repetitions, Baba delivered the following lecture. There are two states, internal and external, divided by a mental curtain. Now, to cleanse the internal is a matter which is not in the hands of any mortal being. Without the help of a Sadguru, it is an impossibility. Therefore, until one can come across a Salik or Sadguru, one should try one's best to keep the external, that is, the physical body, clean. This is what the Shariat tenets of all religions teach. By following Shariat to perfection, one has a chance of coming into a connection with a Sadguru or Salik. The observance of external cleanliness does, to some extent, also brighten up the internal. Since cleansing the internal is the work of a Sadguru only, without his presence, the next best thing to do is to look after the external as laid down in one's own Shariat. In all the Shariats, you can see that it is all external only. Reading, sitting, standing, keeping the body clean with ablutions, and observing cleanliness of one's clothes and food. With the eyes, you can look at good religious objects. With the tongue and lips, you can utter prayers. With the ears, you can hear divine recitations, and so on. Thus the rules of all religions are external only, and hence all the prophets from the beginning of time have enjoined on their followers to follow the tenets laid down for them. The middle course, as adopted by yogis and those given to studies, is a complete failure because it depends upon or takes the help of both internal and external for realization of their goal. By bringing the mind to work in the process of concentrations and imaginations, and bringing the upper and lower breaths into contact in the brain, they depend on the internal. By sitting, reading, and fasting, they make use of the external. That is, the body, and so they inevitably fail to obtain realization. Therefore, until fortune brings one into the range of a Salik's influence, it is best to follow the tenets of religion as much as one can.
Shri Baba. When
Hey,
the
Baba.
when the internal is cleansed by the favor of the Satguru, that one who has realized God, the external is no longer cared for and is completely neglected. It is for this reason that saints are generally seen in the most filthy states externally. What do such people care about the external, which will perish in the course of time? While Doctor was preparing his bath in the early afternoon, Baba sent to the bazaar for chocolates, which he distributed among them, asking did they like the taste of them. All except Arjun did. After a few minutes, he asked, were they still enjoying the taste of them? And when they said no, Baba said, when a good thing is offered to the mind, it is pleased, but soon after settles back into its original condition before its pleasure. If a bitter medicine is forced upon the mind, it revolts, but again after a while returns to its normal state. This proves that both the pleasures and pains of this world are so very short-lived. Just now you enjoyed the taste of the chocolates, but almost immediately after, the enjoyment had become a thing of the past. Since no result from it has remained, since no result of it has remained, such it is with all worldly pleasures and pains. The highest kind of pleasurable sensation in this world is sexual intercourse. But how long does that last? Only a few minutes. Now, the highest of all material pleasures compared with real happiness is as a shadow of a drop from the ocean. Not even a drop itself, but its shadow. The pleasure passes, but real happiness, once experienced, is enjoyed every moment forever. In the evening, Baba sang for a while a ghazal of Hafez and then explained it to them. Being Thursday, Guru Day, Maharaja's arti was recited, and for the first time, the companions were allowed to pay their respects to beloved Baba. The usual routine was followed in the morning until 10:30, when Baba called Doctor and Adi. He asked them to keep their minds free and cheerful. He said, if there is a cause, great or small, present, then a result must follow accordingly. If there is a cause, great or small, present then, a result must follow accordingly. Now the grief and sorrows of this world are imaginary and self-created. Being so, there is no cause for them to bring about a result. A result, in order to be substantial and therefore knowable and acceptable, must have a cause. If the cause be absent, then it naturally follows that the effect or result is insubstantial or imaginary. Why then worry about the sorrows and griefs and pleasures of this world, which have no cause behind them other than mere imagination? Be a passive spectator of what is passing before you and keep the mind free and happy. Hafez says, both the sorrows and happiness of the world are passing away. Hence, it is best that I should remain always happy. One more time. Both the sorrows and happiness of this world are passing away. Hence, it is best that I should remain always happy. After the Friday namaz, the coldness and ill feeling that existed between Slav's son Ramju and Sarosh came up in talk. Baba said he felt sorry that in spite of repeated warnings and the frequent notices he had put up on the notice board, such a such a state of things still existed in the manzil. He gave the three of them a sound lecture and took a promise from each not to entertain ill feelings toward the others, but to live on amicable terms in future on pain of being swept away. After supper, the Mandali,
Oh, that's sent away, but
after
Yeah.
supper,
it,
thank you.
it means more or less the same thing. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. After supper, the Mandali were sent away and were
Or-
all sitting off the ground in the sports area playing Florida when Baba came out and immediately noticed that they were sitting on the bare earth. He wrote on the notice board, I regret to say that the whole Mandali have broken the order not to sit on the ground without spreading something under them. From Mirwan. That which had slipped the memories of over 40 persons, Baba, in spite of his multifarious activities, spiritual, mental, and physical, immediately noticed. One day, when all had gathered in the dining room, prior to the early morning prayers, Baba asked had anyone had dreams. Doctor recounted seeing himself sitting on the footpath of the main road near Bendi Bazaar, dressed in dirty colored clothes, when some old friends passed by and pointing to him out to one another said, this is the doctor we knew of old. Abaduram said that in a dream he had Ka Salib was talking with Baba. Baba said that if what he had said was right, Kal Chabad would come that day from Delhi to where he had been sent in connection with the biography of Maharaj.
Thanks, Jeff.
After breakfast, Baba asked all to play a cricket match. Abdullah and Ramju, who hardly knew how to hold a bat, were to captain the teams. Doctor made much of this, and Baba enjoyed his witticisms. After the game, Pak Saheb, accompanied by Asar, walked in after no news from them for the last 10 days. Dirty clothes having accumulated beyond the Dobie's capacity. Baba asked all to give him a hand. They went to it, washing, drying, and ironing with great enthusiasm, and the atmosphere underwent an extraordinary change. Soon the back compound looked like a miniature Mahal Aksmi Dobie got in Bombay. Wow. After supper, Baba called all together, including Munshiji and Vajafadar, who were present, and brought up again a subject that had been partially discussed during the afternoon. Whether Baba should go to Sikori, he invited their opinions. Baba said, my sufferings are becoming unbearable, and if I go to Sikori, Maharaj will take a little of my burden off my shoulders, but in doing so, he will have to suffer. On the other hand, he may even beat me and disgrace me in the presence of all at Diwali time. I've told you before that advanced saints and Mahatmas have disgraced and beaten me, for the spiritual world is against me at this time. It is just possible that Mirage may also do this. If I remain here, I shall have to suffer still more terribly. Munshiji and Vaj Iftar were against Baba's going. The rest thought he should go, and accordingly Baba decided to leave for Sikori that night. He then asked Doctor to bring Swami Vivekananda's book and read out a passage, an explanation of which had been postponed so many times. The passage was, the only true teacher is he who can convert himself, as it were, into 1,000 persons at a moment's notice, who can come down immediately to the student's level and transfer his soul to the student's soul, see through his eyes, hear through his ears, and understand through his mind. Such a teacher and none else can teach. Explaining this, Baba said, a teacher in MA teaching the alphabet to children must necessarily bring himself down to their level and read, write, and repeat ABC along with them. Then only will be able to impart the knowledge to them and gradually bring them up to his own level. If he does not bring himself down from the heights of his achievements, then the labor bestowed by him on the student will be wasted. Similarly, a Sadguru who comes down to the ordinary man is, in the course of time, able to impart his knowledge to him. It is because he can do this, he can make others like himself, a thing impossible for Mazubs and Mas, who are divinely drunk to such an extent that they are not even aware of their own bodies. Such being the case, how could they give understanding to others and show them truth? Rasuli Khuda himself, Muhammad, came down to the level of all men to such an extent that when harassed by his enemies and his life threatened, he acted like an ordinary man and fled from his birthplace to Medina. See now, the master of the world running away just as any human being would.
Thank you, Marcia. We're rolling.
Were destroyed. Baba then came back to the subject of his sufferings. He said that things that were to happen in Pune were taking place there in Bombay. I told you in Pune, he said, that I would have to suffer so much that my eyes would sink into their sockets. And that has happened here. I told you that I would be beaten severely by people. So it is just possible that that too may occur here. All my words will come true. How, where, and when, that I alone know. You would not be able to understand them. To understand and talk on such subjects, special ears and a different tongue are needed. Continuing, Baba said, my sufferings are twofold since my charge comes from Maharaj. Maharaj knows this, and so is all the time sending word so that he may take some of the burden from me and ease my suffering a little. But then the old man would have to suffer greatly. So I am between two fires. Anyway, it is decided that I go. Baba asked doctor to tell Khak and Asar Sahib about the new order of early rising prayers and repetitions that were being followed since the 1st of October. Asar Sahib raised some sort of objection to the particular prayer to be said. When Baba heard of this, he became very angry with him for finding fault with his instructions. And Cock also came in for hot words. Baba ordered all the Mohammedans to discontinue the morning routine and do what they liked best. Cooling down a little, Baba said, who is there amongst you who knows more about Shariat than I? Who is better Muslim? I am what I am externally. Who knows what I am internally? Prayers and form of worship are meant only for God. But you being so wrapped up in the form of it and its details, you leave God out and worship the prayers. Feeling that these remarks were pointed at him, Cock Sahib lost his temper and tried to throw the blame for the scene on Asar, who also this time had been silent. But now he burst out with counter allegations against Cock. What had started as some trifling objection about the form of Papa's order had become a full-scale quarrel between two friends. Asar even went to the length of asking for a separate room as he no longer wished to share with Cock. At this, Baba stepped in and insisted on their coming to amicable terms with each other or leaving the manzil. Baba left for Sakori after taking promise from Kak and asserted that they would mutually forget and forgive and be their old selves again. The order of the Mohammedans was rescinded.
Rescinded.
The order to the Mohammedans was rescinded. There was at that time a standing order that whenever Baba stepped out of the manzil, any mandali at home should follow him. So when Baba set out to walk to the railway station in the evening of the 14th October, most of the mandali followed him. After a while, he stopped and turned around and waved them back. They halted, but as soon as he started again, they again followed. This went on 2 or 3 times until he told them he was going alone and ordered them to go back to the manzil. Gustaji automatically and with common consent took over the leadership during Baba's absence. Kak and Asad gave a good account of their visit to Delhi and Ajmer, and especially of their meeting with Khwaja Hassan Nizami. They had asked him to rewrite the biography, but he said he had too many commitments. But he glanced through the book and then wrote a short introduction, which interestingly enough covered the book very well. Seeing a photo of Sai Baba, he said he remembered meeting him and held a very high opinion of him. There was also some discussion about the coming great personality who is expected in many quarters. He was told that a long time ago Sai Baba has said the new teacher, Imam Medhi, would manifest soon, and it would be in Karachi rather than, according to Islamic traditions, in Jerusalem. Nizami said that there was not much importance in that point. Imam Medhi would be a perfect Salik or Sadguru as termed by Hindus, and so could, if he wished, appear in hundreds of places at one and the same time.
On 17th October, ooh, I'm on low battery, but I should make it.
Yeah, while they were spreading cow dung, we saved this for you. Yeah.
Funny. On the 17th October, while they were spreading cow dung over the back compound, Baba arrived. After going through some letters which had come during his absence, he wrote the following on the notice board. If anyone during the last 2 days has broken any order of mine, slight or important, knowingly or unknowingly, he should tell me about it by 8 o'clock tonight. Marwan. Everyone began telling their mistakes. Doctor read a ghazal of Asar Sahib's in the Urdu daily, Bashard, and as fine had to go to the market and buy a volume of Vivekanand's works. And so were faults confessed and adjusted. After this, Gusaji mentioned that there had been a long discussion on music between Rustam and Naval. Naval said that Mehrag, if sung properly, could bring down rain. Rustam argued that it was impossible to do so through the mere science of singing. It could only be done by the exercise of some sort of spiritual powers. Hearing this, Baba agreed with Naval that it was possible through the science of raga to bring down rain. He explained, in general terms, it can be said that rain falls as the result of vapor clouds dashing together. Now sound travels in waves and consequently takes time. This can be observed if you watch a washerman washing clothes. When he beats them on a stone, you see the movement a few seconds before you hear the slap. In Mehrag, when the voice attains the required pitch of vibration, it reaches the clouds and creates a disturbance, which results in rain. It is quite a natural phenomenon, and that And what is there to disbelieve about it? Compared with this, the fact of wireless telegraphy is much more difficult to believe, since without a connecting link, a wire, sounds and messages are made to travel great distances between 2 points. Now, what is voice? From where does it originate? It must already be in existence somewhere before it issues from the mouth. Really speaking is everywhere in the universe. God is voice, as he also is light. Voice has been given a door, the mouth to manifest from. When a sound is let out of the mouth, it becomes lost in the universal voice, which is everywhere. So what wonder is it if the voice emanating from the Rag reaches the clouds, which are only a couple of miles away? There's nothing spiritual or supernatural about getting rain through sound waves. Oh,
Oh,
that's great, huh? Sound, being vibration, travels and creates various vibrations. It is for that reason that one should read the holy books. Although the meaning may not be understood, the words of the Zend Avesta of the Parsis and the Holy Quran and other scriptures are so put and arranged that when read, the voice or sound created come very near to being in unison with the universal voice. And that goes a great way in affecting real spiritual values in one. Oh, that's great. While Doctor was preparing Baba's bath in the afternoon, Baba suddenly asked Ramju, who was standing by, if God had a mother. He said he didn't know, whereupon Baba took him to task for not knowing the ordinary tenets of Islamic faith. To finally decide the issue, Asar and Kak were called. Asar said that Ramju was right. How could one tell with certainty whether God has parents or not? Baba then said, since you yourself are not certain whether God has parents, why should you cry down the Christians for believing that Jesus is the Son of God? Whatever it may be, you should not put aside your shariat so very easily. Asar continues his defense for some time, but ultimately gave in to Baba's logic. Then turning to Doctor, Baba asked, has God any children? Doctor said yes. Baba asked him to explain. He said, having heard you tell that Rasul Ikuda is the father of God in the ordinary sense, what harm is it to imagine that God has children? Baba said, having a father does not necessarily mean that one must have children. But certainly God does have many children. The multifarious powers that emanate from him can be said to be his children. According to the Hindus, God is called Deo, and the 33 crores of powers of God are the Deotas.
Baba then said, there is besides your two external eyes an internal eye situated between the eyebrows, which the yogis too know about. At the height of their attainment, they see with this internal eye God, or Brahman as they call it, contained in the skull. A Sadguru, however, can see these things as it pleases his fancy. With the internal eye, he sees God, and with the external eyes, he actually sees everything that exists as coming in the form of innumerable circles out of himself through the point of the third eye. It is for this reason that those who see Brahman can be counted by the 100, while Sadgurus are always very few.
Very, very few.
Very, very few. After this, Baba fell asleep in the dining hall while Doctor was pressing his body and did not wake up until 6 o'clock in the evening. He thought it was morning and asked Gustaji if breakfast was ready. Informed that it was supper time, he said that never before had he had so sound a sleep, and added that he had brought the sleep with him from Sakori. Wow. After supper, he told all the Mandali about the visit. Instead of talking against him, Maharaj had made everyone there pay homage to him. He had slept well the night he was there. What with the concourse of people wherever he went or sat, there was little opportunity of talk with the Maharaj. He was at the ashram for 18 hours, and he had arranged with Maharaj to send all the Mandali to Sakori for Diwali. After supper the next evening, all were called to the upper hall, and Baba explained that from the 1st November he would begin his internal work very seriously, and those who wanted to remain with him throughout should put their signatures to a stamped paper to that effect. Before doing so, they should think twice and be prepared to stick to him even if there was a calamity in their families. An agreement was read out and translated by Doctor. We, the undersigned, in full possession of our sense, of our own free will and accord, hereby agree not to leave Meher Baba under any circumstances from 1st November 1922 to 25th April 1923. We also agree to stay here with him regardless of any family events, such as the death of any near relation or friend. At the end of the said period, Meher Baba binds himself to fulfill the promises by the 10th June, which he has already verbally made. If any of us fails under any circumstances to stay with Meher Baba, then he, Meher Baba, will not be responsible to fill the promises given. The paper, after being read and some explanations given, was passed around for signatures, which were put by all except Asar Sahib. He refused point blank to sign and would give no reason. At this, Baba asked him to leave the compound. Asar begged that he be sent away for one night only, but Baba said that once one left the place without signing the new agreement that night, he left for good. Now a word fight developed between Dr. Gustaji and Behramji. Doctor was severely rebuked by Baba and consequently became very dejected. Some time later, Baba asked him why he was depressed. Doctor replied that it was some personal matter and he would tell him afterwards in private. But Baba asked him to unburden himself on paper there and then. This he proceeded to do, and the time he took over it showed that he was taking full advantage of the temporary release from the ban on writing. Baba read it, laughed a little, and asked Doctor to remind him about it the following day. All were dismissed except Asar Sahib, whom Baba kept back to talk to. In the morning, the Mandali came to know that Asar Sahib had left. Baba had sat with him till 11 o'clock. He had, however, signed the agreement before he left, so he could come back later on if he wished. Even then, he had added his words, "Shall do as much as I can." Baba asked Doctor to go with Kak and Patil to the printers and binders, where Asar Sahib worked, and asked him to return by noon, but he didn't come. Baba then had Doctor write letters to Shah Mohammed and Pap Sayan in Pune telling them not to come to Bombay with students on the 26th as had been arranged. He asked him to show the letter to Asar, and even if he returned by the evening, well and good. If not, then post the letter. Accordingly, Doctor took the letter and showed it to Asar. He also tried personally to persuade him to return, but Asar wouldn't come. When Baba heard Doctor's report, he ordered Jadav also to leave the manzil, thus directly or indirectly breaking the connection with all who had come to him through Asar. Asar's revolt, the departure of the Mandali to Sakori on the eve of Diwali, negotiations going on for the purchase of a flour mill by Rustam, Behramji and Asma to provide occupation. Purchase of a flour mill by Rustam, Behramji, and Asma to provide occupation for those who still had not got jobs, as well as the daily routine of early morning baths and prayers. Play and mosquito killing, being rigidly kept to, had created a tense atmosphere.
Thank you, Betty. We're rolling.
Okay, with the exception of Kak, Dr. Munshiji, and a few others who stayed back with Baba, the Mandali went to Sakori. On the 22nd of October, Maharaj received them graciously, and during the 3-day visit, often sat with them giving explanations and advice, impressing on them to stick to Baba through thick and thin. Hear and obey Merwan's orders, he said. In doing so, it will be necessary to suffer a little, which suffering you should bear cheerfully. However, if the limit of suffering is reached, then the matter should be humbly placed before Merwan, and he will lessen the sufferings a little. Put up with things comfortable or otherwise, but on no account let go your hold on him. God is manifesting more and more in Merwan every day, and good days are to come for all who are with him. Stick to him at all cost and cherish his word. Durgamai, Maharaj's spiritual mother, looked after their food. Leaving Sakori, they went to Pune for Babajan's darshan, as Baba had instructed them. Kak Sahib and Rustam joined them there, and they returned to Bombay, arriving early afternoon. After they had refreshed themselves, all went to the upper hall, and Baba asked them to narrate the experiences of the visit. After this, Baba asked Doctor to fetch the agreement they had all signed and told them to reconsider their decisions. And if anyone still felt hesitation or unwillingness to have his signature on the paper, he could withdraw, and Baba would willingly free him from the undertaking. But all declared their determination to stick their promises whatever happened. And the agreement was finally declared binding on all except Asar Sahib, who was left free in spite of his having signed the agreement unconditionally during their absence. It transpired that while they were in Sakori, he had kicked up a great row about the agreement and his signing it. But eventually, through Munshiji's persuasion, he gave in. Baba said that although he had bound himself over in black and white, Asar would be left free and was given to the end of the month to decide whether he remained with Baba or returned to the worldly life. The life of Sri Maharaj was out of the press and was being bound. Posters were being stuck up and other advertising negotiated. A flour mill was bought. It was situated on the Elphinstone Road beyond the railway overbridge in a thickly populated mill area amidst gutters and sewers. The premises were in keeping with the surroundings, being dark and dilapidated. The machinery consisted of 3 engines and half a dozen mills, all in very dirty condition and requiring extensive overhauling and repairs. On the 27th of October, the following program was put up on the notice board. On the 28th of October, 1922, go to Victoria Gardens. On the 29th of October, 1922, to feed the poor and blind. On the 30th of October, 1922, to go to Kalyan by order. Doctor went to Pune on some business or other. When he returned, he told Baba that many tongues in that place were wagging about him and the Mandali, spreading all sorts of exaggerated and false stories. With the exception of the very few who knew Baba, the general opinion was that the Irani peer and his assorted followers were up to mischief with the Bombay public. For the excursion to the Victorian Gardens, Vajifdar had managed to get special facilities from the superintendent, who was an old friend of his. Especially, the party enjoyed the picnic lunch under fine shady trees, with water flowing by in the canal and flowers of all colors and shapes everywhere. They went on to the zoo part of the gardens, and Baba told them about the positions of some of the animals, especially the monkeys and bears, in the chain of existence. In the evening, preparations were to feed blind and the poor and the next day. The Mandali were to fast until the feeding was finished. The first thing in the morning, Doctor and Ramju were sent to Bendi Bazar to buy 100 shirts to be distributed to the poor after feeding them. Then the hunt began. Almost all the Mandali were let loose to search out and bring to the manzil the most disabled and needy, especially lepers and the blind. One would think that in a city like Bombay it would be easy enough to pick up 1,000 such people, but leaving aside the professional beggars whom they were told not to bring, it is not so easy to separate the really needy from the needy. After walking 3 miles, Doctor collared only one who measured up to standard. Vajifdar, in the heat of the search, tramped as far as the bazaar, where he came across a bunch of eligibles. But how to get them to Dadar? However, the champion cricketer proved equally sharp in this game also. He persuaded one of them to stand the tram fares on the promise of repayment and also the return fare. And so, to the amazement and dismay of the other passengers, Vajifdar, with a pick of the city's neglected society, boarded a tram. Ramju had to go as far as Baikala Bridge, where he was successful in getting some. Luckily, he didn't have to beg from the beggars for conveyance fares, as he came across an old friend from whom he borrowed a rupee. Even then, it was not easy to keep them together, and some tried to slip away when it occurred to them that they were being taken to an institution. 100 of Bombay's most needy were given a good meal of soup, rice, and a vegetable, and clothed. Some were even bathed by Baba, and 2 were garlanded by him. The feeding finished at 2 in the afternoon, and the Mandali broke their fast with the same breakfast the beggars had received.
We're rolling.
Where are we? 100? No, the next one. Early morning of 30th October, Baba and the Mandali took the train to Kalyan, where a couple of motor lorries were engaged to take them to the foot of the hill on which is Malang Shah's tomb. But the roads were so bad after the recent monsoon that after about 6 miles, the drivers asked the party to finish the remaining distance on foot. They would wait and take them back to Kalyan. So they set off, but after walking for an hour, found they were just as far from the hill as when they started. Baba selected a certain tree and asked them, in the name of the master, to place there the flowers they had brought. just as if that spot itself was the tomb. They were also told to ask that their failure to reach the actual tomb be excused, and they promised to come another day. They set off back to where it was thought they had left the lorries, but eventually, after much walking, came out on the road a mile on the town side. Presently, the drivers came along in a bullock cart. They had concluded that the party would not be returning until evening, so had decided to go back to the town for a few hours. When the party got back to Kalyan, Baba allowed them a hearty meal. They reached Dardar and the manzil about 5:30. Baba remarked that the trip was not unsuccessful, but was according to program. Kalyan and not Malangash had been written on the notice board. Another time, he said, if they wanted to go, they should take care and write Malangash on the board. The next Friday, the principal mosques were to be attended by the Mohammedan Mandali. Each was given a number of advertising posters of Maharaja's biography to stick on the walls. It was a brave sight to see Doctor going forth with posters and handbills and a bottle of gum to fight the great fight, cringing at the thought of being laughed at by friends and acquaintances. Baba gave Ramju the Jakaria Masjid to attend, the very last place he would have liked, in view of it being situated in the heart of a locality where every second or third man would be an acquaintance. Seeing the revolt going on in his mind, Baba gave him another place, and Abdur Rahman was given Jakaria Masjid. The big posters were stuck in prominent places on doors and walls. And after the prayers, Ramju took his stand at the main entrance and distributed the handbills to each and every one coming out, including Usman Saheb and his brothers. It was a great relief when it was all over and they returned to the good old Manzil. Book selling was now the thing of the day. Rustam and Bajibdar were working full-time on distribution, and almost everyone in the place had been sent out to sell copies. The atmosphere of the Manzil was never one of laziness, but a good part of the day could always be spared for chit-chat and pastimes. Now, every spare hour was being utilized, hawking the book that it seemed few wanted. It required great persuasion and an extremely cool head to bring friends around to buying it. The following notice appeared on the board. Please be telling the truth, Merwan. Over the last 4 days, Ramju had disposed of hardly a dozen copies of the book, and in one day, Doctor had sold only 2. But some funny incidents occurred, such as it being required of Ramju to give a short address at a wedding, and the wedding party insisting that he explain the merits of the book. A Mr. Nasir Ahmed, who had been to Baba one morning, told the Mandali afterwards how he had come. He had just returned home from seeing his brother, Aziz Ahmed, who it was said had become unbalanced mentally. When one of his servants told him that a guest had arrived and was at that moment praying in the mosque, he was found to be a very old man who introduced himself as Abdul Wahad, and during the course of conversation asked Mr. Nasir why he did not go to Meher Baba. He replied because he, Baba, is not a Muslim, at least externally. The old man said, Fakirs have no religion. Meher Baba is the first of this time. His station is such that in a moment he could turn anyone he embraced into a wali or a saint if he wished. Go see him and give him my salams. Almost at the identical time, the supposedly unbalanced brother had been told by a voice to go to Bombay and see Baba, and he had gone. The following was found on the notice board one morning. As previously arranged, no one should even speak about going home till the month of April 1923, Merwan. Fairdoon, Ramju, Bar Soap, and Slamson were given duties at the flour mill. It had turned out to be a hopeless investment. Hardly a day did it work without stoppages, and the consequent jumble and excitement can only be imagined. The stinking smell from the sewers and the crying and groans of the machinery made it all a horrible experience. When Syed Saheb came home, he told of another strange incident regarding Aziz Ahmed. He had gone with Munshiji to Reman Baba's shrine, and at the moment of kissing the covering over the tomb, a voice from within spoke in his ears. Sheikh Baba Merwan, Ko Hamara Salam Kardo, or Vo Salam Munshi Abdurrahim Kezaria Wahan Tak Pahancha Do, which means, say our salams to Sheikh Baba Merwan and convey them there through the person of Munshi Abdurrahim. In accordance with the prevailing practice of not giving interviews to outside people, when the brother of the Maharaja of Hyderabad, on Brabazon's advice, came down to Bombay specifically to see Baba, he was turned away. When Baba came to know the details of this, he had the following notice put on the board. If a visitor of any caste, creed, or position comes from Sri Upasi Maharaj or Brabazon, I should be reminded to admit him, even though I were to refuse him in the first instance. Merwan. Baba put on the notice board that an impure action had been committed by someone whom he referred to as the innocent hypocrite. At first, the Mandali generally thought this to be merely a reminder for all to be on their guard against any slip, but subsequent persistent notices, such as promising secrecy of his guilt and a clear pardon, set them all thinking. Then appeared the notice, unless the culprit confesses his fault concerning impure action within 3 days, he shall leave the bungalow. Merwan. The all-engrossing problem of the day was the unknown black sheep in the fold. Directly or indirectly, everyone suspected someone. Expressions on faces and any unusual movements were carefully noted. To no avail. Most of them were ready to rule out the possibility of any such action ever being committed in the Manzil, but there were the repeated notices on the board, the latest of which was, only 1 day now remains in which to confess the fault concerning the impure action. Otherwise, I leave the bungalow. Merwan. As the day advanced, the excitement grew. The 3rd day was nearly over, and the culprit had not come forward. It was now pretty well taken for granted that the whole affair had been made up by Baba with some different objective in view. Then, suddenly, to the utter amazement of everybody, Baba confronted Mahbub with the guilt. At first, Mahbub denied it, but Baba gave clear details about the particular place on the premises where the action was done, the circumstances of it, and even of a second party outside the Mandali involved in it. It was just as though Baba had been present. Then Mahbub made a clean breast of it. He had, he said, done the action when Baba and the Mandali were not on the premises. He was all tears, and Baba forgave him. But he was not allowed to remain with the Mandali and was sent over to Charney Road and Mushiji was asked to find a job for him.